no Disney canon fans of any kind. Mandalorian fans are welcome because The Mandalorian is a good show, and it's about one of the few things that Disney's actually put together that everybody likes. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Kennedy thing and all the things that are going on at not just Disney, but in Hollywood. There's a lot. Here's the deal. The big studios are chasing Netflix right now. Okay? Netflix is like the anchor tenant, to put it bluntly, from a variety piece I just read. And it's very apparent that they don't really know what to do. This is, I mean, first off, AT&T is dumping, I don't know if they're really dumping it, more like having Warner Media merge with Discovery because it looks like they want to get out of the entertainment business. And it looks like they also want to shake themselves free from some people that, we talk a lot about Disney and Kennedy and her flying monkeys, but they're flying monkeys at Warner Media. And Sarnoff has way more power than she should. She's an SJW, and she's probably on her way out, along with Walter Hamada and Jason Kilar. Jason Kilar, nice guy, but with the new company being restructured, it doesn't look like he's going to be around because the guy that runs Discovery is going to be running the whole thing. There you go. But this throws a lot of fire. Thank you, Euler Greg. Euler Greg, if you guys don't know, Euler Greg is somebody we would talk to when Craig Johnson was doing his streams, and a really smart guy. And I really enjoy it when he shows up because it not only kind of solidifies what I've been thinking, but it also solidifies, I think, what the feeling is for a lot of people. Let's put it this way: the YouTube anti-Lucasfilm, Kennedy era Lucasfilm fan community is a very sophisticated bunch. Okay, we've got people who are from finance. We've got people who are actual producers and filmmakers who also have MBAs. I'll bring up Kamran in a minute. We've got, and lawyers too, we've got people who are really good storytellers, artists, these kind of things, well-read. And it would behoove anybody coming in to Lucasfilm as the head to remember that there are fans out there who know a lot about Star Wars and who could give people like Pablo Hidalgo a run for their money. In fact, probably do a better job because unlike Pablo, they actually respect the story. But anyway, let's go in further. So a lot of this upheaval, it's not just Disney, it's all of Hollywood right now. And Disney is taking a different approach because it appears to be the guy, I can't remember his name. I'll get shot for this. Maybe someone can look it up. The head of Discovery is friends with Zucker at CNN, Bullethead, who's going to be leaving soon because he's driven that company into the ground. The guy's also very talent-oriented, which is fine. I don't know what that means. Culture Casino's kind of worried about that. So we're going to have to watch what this guy's about. I take a wait and see attitude with all this. And the reason is this. These companies, in order to survive, have to make money. Okay. Part of the reason I think AT&T is dumping Warner the way it is because they've got debt they can't service. Okay. This was Warner Brothers. They bought it for $80 billion. That was something they couldn't quite swallow. And to be honest, I think the Fox issue is part of the reason why Disney's struggling, but that's neither here nor there. But how does this affect Disney? Well, a couple weeks ago, Variety put out a story about how egos are being bruised and this new CEO is coming in, and it laid out a groundwork about what was happening. First off, Chapek is an accountant. So if your division isn't making money, he probably wants to know why. All right? You know, I'll admit I got into this observing the money late because I was so, hey, Grandmaster Jim, I was so angry about the content. And no matter what we as fans did, we couldn't get them to pay attention. And then channels like World Class Bullshitters and others start talking about the fact that Star Wars couldn't sell merchandise. No one wanted a fucking Rey. No one wanted a Kylo Ren or a Finn or a Poe or, you know, whatever. We just didn't want them. Hey, Dakari. And George Lucas made all of his billions on selling merchandise. Okay? To people with money, not just to kids. Oh, I want to play with my Luke Skywalker. No, to people who collect that stuff. I have friends that have rooms dedicated to Star Wars figures, ships, artwork, posters, autographs, everything. I even have a small collection now. And while a lot of people think it's weird that an adult would collect toys, they're not. It's more of a memory. And I truly believe everybody still has that little kid inside. Hey, Chris, of them. And, you know, when you see a Star Wars poster, when you see Harrison Ford, when you see Mark Hamill, and you grew up with them, you are transported back to better times. All right? Despite what everybody says. Right now, I would take Jimmy Carter over fucking Biden any day of the week. Okay? I really would. I mean, Biden is a human disaster area. I mean, but that is neither here nor there. I as a libertarian, I kind of, a populist. You know, I don't want to talk politics here, just because you guys know how I feel, and that's it. But Disney didn't realize that. And also, Star Wars is a boys' franchise. It is. As a girl, I liked it, but I wasn't like the other girls. I got shit for it too. Okay, let's put it this way. Even when Star Wars first came out and was really popular, if you told the popular girls you loved Star Wars, they would mock you. That's a guy's thing. All right. You know, this generation isn't going anywhere. And right now, we have the money to buy merchandise. We can go to those movies over and over again. Let me tell you something about SJWs. They don't do any of that. What they do, in fact, I'm gonna call it out right now. I would bet $1,000 a lot of the people screaming about Rose Tico and Vice Admiral Gender Studies and all the rest of this shit never even went to the start to these movies. Okay? All right? The people that spend the money are the older fans. Okay? And they're the ones that will get their children, nephews, and nieces to like it too. And, you know, Disney, you know, allowing Kennedy to take away Luke Skywalker and Han Solo was a bullshit move. Little boys need heroes too. You know, Walt knew that. Roy Disney knew that. Why the fuck don't these people know that? You know, they're finding out now that this SJW shit only caters to a very small group of people who don't really care about the franchise. They don't give a shit. And yeah, Euler Greg is right. They did. And so Chapek comes in last year. Now, before that, before COVID hit, Iger himself said, we're going into a restructuring. And he stepped back. Chapek started easing himself into CEO's place. And a lot of stuff started happening behind the scenes that we'd, got hints of through Doomcock and Midnight's Edge and all the rest of the stuff. And Doomcock had been saying since last year, people I know have been saying since last year, that Kennedy was out. Okay. And this Variety article that Cameron was speaking to, I read it, I sent it to him, Andre, Tom, and I posted it other places. Basically, wasn't about Disney. All right. You have executives getting bruised egos. I can't imagine who they are. You have Chapek basically looking at the fans and saying, we love you. We're going to a distribution model, and we're going to make it so you'll like what we give you because it'll be great. Trust us. Trust us. We're fixing this problem. That's what the distribution model is about. It's completely different, I think, from what Warner Brothers is going to get with the Discovery merger. Okay? And I think in the long run, I think Chapek is going to win out on this. If you put the customers first, you're going to make money. Period. Full stop. I've always said that. I mean, ask Euler Greg and anybody else who's been here since the beginning. If you make something people want, they're going to come out and buy it. Okay? That's a fact. And for the record, I didn't start looking at the stock prices for Disney and where it was till after COVID hit. But it had been up to about 152, 149 at one point a year and a half, like a year ago, November. And it went down to $79 after COVID. Okay. These are the things that keep Bob Chapek up at night. Okay. These are the things that keep the board up at night. Because there are lots of people with lots of money right now looking at them going, and it's not just Lucasfilm, but Lucasfilm is something they can fix. Okay. And they're doing it now by bringing in Jon Favreau and letting him team up with Dave Filoni. Okay. Like Filoni or not, Bad Batch is a decent show. It's not woke at all. To the people naysaying it, I doubt you've seen an episode. To the people saying, Omega's a Mary Sue. No, she's not. She's a clone. All right? She's a fucking clone. She's a stage 3 or 4 clone. Her name means the end, by the way. Did you ever hear Latin? Anyway, let's go further. So they bring in, and the first time it hits, Mandalorian hits, they get a hit. And by the time season 2 is over, with the arrival of Luke Skywalker, it is huge. It's the biggest. Hey, Jeremy, it's the biggest show on streaming right now. I mean, it still is. The arrival of an OG legacy hero that had not been ruined or abused, that is still going through his, because Luke is what, 30 years old in this? All right. He has 40, 50 more years, 60 more years to go. He is on a long life ride going on here. When he shows up, this is the Luke Skywalker that has been through a tremendous amount. And, you never stop changing. You never stop experiencing things. You never stop learning. This is why watching the Disney sequel trilogy and what they did to Han and Luke and Leia was appalling and criminal. All right. De-evolving and deconstructing characters is, first off, left-wing fascism. It's Frankfurt School bullshit. Okay? Second of all, de-evolving a character doesn't make any sense. Stories are about human beings, right? We tell the stories. You know, oh, I do too. We tell the stories. They're about us. Every novel, every book that's been written, every poem that's been written, from the first writing, from Greco-Roman history to mythology, to Chinese mythology, Asian mythology in general, to Norse mythology, which is something I'm interested in, to Native American mythology, to Aztec mythology, to, you know, Celtic mythology, to all the stories that came out, Shakespeare, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, W.B. Yeats, W.H. Auden, all these fantastic writers. They're not about anything else but the human condition. That's what Star Wars is. And if you think a human being, A, cannot change, ever, you know, if you believe that people, hey, John 42, if you believe people are born bad, or, you know, as somebody, some, you know, left-wing, angry SJW feminazi bitch said, you know, Han Solo's a dirtball. No, he's not. Why would you say that? Why would you say that about anybody if you don't know anything about him? Because she is a left-wing feminazi hag, like they always are, and they don't understand that conditions make people behave a certain way. No, he's a survivor, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, he was always a decent person. There's a way of hiding that part of a man's self when he's in a situation where you're making enemies, you're living in a world, the underworld, the smuggler's world, where your life can be taken from you anytime. You're not exactly going to be a nice person. I mean, you'd have to be a moron not to understand that. But again, I'm going to say it, these people never read anything about the Old West, never read anything about the gunfighters, don't understand any of that shit. All right, these people might have gone to college, but all they were conditioned. They didn't learn anything. They didn't learn objective, how to be objective about things, forming, you know, objective opinions through critical thinking. They also don't know their fucking history, and they don't know anything about the human condition. And women like that hate men. But this is the kind of thing that was catered to, and it ruined Star Wars. And it's Star Wars, despite Star Wars is dead. Ugh. It's a franchise. You shelve it for 10 years, come back and redo it. All right? It's not a living, breathing thing, okay? So don't be fucking stupid. Don't. Every time I hear someone emotionally cock off like that, I'm like, oh, God, shut up. You know, just shut up. But these are the things that Chapek has had to deal with, and he knows it. So we've got things like last spring, I think, we get the Leslie Headland doing the Acolyte. Okay, that was behind the Bob's backs because Kennedy was pissed that she wasn't getting to look at any of the scripts for Mando season 3. Okay. And then we got the Gina Carano thing happening. And that was obviously engineered from inside by her people. Okay. That Fire Gina Carano hashtag came from Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, and the rest of that scum. Okay. And they can sit there and deny it till the cows come home. But when you've got something like Rewriting Ripley connected to one of their former employees, Michelle Buckman, And then Pablo following rewriting Ripley on his Three Squirrel account, and Pablo and Matt Martin and Pablo retweeting their shit. I would say if I was a district attorney and I had a police detective asking, can I get a search warrant? I have all this evidence that points to something, and I want to get the direct stuff. Go for it. I would go to the judge and say, this is what we've got. It's circumstantial, but it says there's something going on. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the judge would say, there's your warrant. Go for it. Okay. Gina herself said it came from there. Why should I not believe her? Okay. Kennedy basically went again behind other backs and announced that Gina wasn't coming back. When people say she was fired, it wasn't a firing. It was an announcement that she would not be back. That's it. Had nothing to do with her being fired. Okay. And that she just didn't have a new contract and wouldn't get one. Jon Favreau, according to Doomcock, got a phone call from somebody at Disney. My opinion is it was probably Bob Iger. Okay? All right. Then we get a rumor that Kennedy, behind everybody's back, stuck her nose into Indy 5. I had been told by a source who had not been wrong in the past that they took Indy 5 away from her. Why shouldn't I believe that? That she doesn't have any decision making, but the signing on of this Waller-Bridge person was, I think, one of the last straws. But that's kind of a convoluted thing, and I don't know. I thought it might be the last straw, but when I look at what's happened with Gina, I think that probably is the last straw. First off, Kennedy and company embarrassed Bob Chapek. She proved that she couldn't be trusted, and also she's incompetent. Not that after Solo crashed and burned was, I mean, it was pretty fucking obvious that she was incompetent then. And, you know, there's a rumor out there, and this is connected to Waller-Bridge, but I don't think so, that one of the Bobs was heard screaming at Kennedy, get your shit together or get out of here. And I don't think it was Chapek. I believe it was probably Iger. Iger is the one that's been kind of known for his bad temper. Okay? So that's the thing. Okay, I think it was probably Iger. It's Iger's legacy here that we're dealing with, really. I want to buy Lucasfilm and let Kathleen Kennedy destroy it. Not his intention, but that's what happened. Okay? But what does that article mean? Let's go talk about this article. Basically, it says a certain person, if you paid attention, Alan Horn, who is basically the head of, I think, the creative part of the studios, was leaving when Iger leaves. That's code for Kennedy's going. When she's mentioned, Kevin Feige is given lauds and a laurel leaf over his head, and he's the one. The head of Pixar's given a pat on the back. Kennedy's mentioned as overseeing Lucasfilm. Then, and here's the key that goes in through the doubter's head, rolls around inside, and comes out the other side. It is mentioned that Feige doesn't want to take over Lucasfilm. This is the first time a trade publication, and I mean not just a trade publication, but the big one in Hollywood, Variety, has mentioned anybody else but Kathleen Kennedy as head of Lucasfilm. Okay? She's not leaving at the end of the day. She's not going anywhere. Did you read the article? Did you hear anything that Kamran said? I'm going to sit here and wait. No, you didn't. You didn't. Look, guys, your anger blinds you. Okay? When I started looking at the numbers, this is last year. I'll be right back. This is last year. I suddenly realized that there's no way she's gonna stay. They can't keep her. When you look at all this stuff, and then the article comes out, and it's the first time in a trade publication that mentioned somebody else might be taking over Lucasfilm without saying it. That she wasn't going to be there. That Kevin Feige didn't want to take over Lucasfilm. And he said it before in different places I've seen. But the idea that reporters are asking those questions now from big trade access media publications is the smoking gun. If you needed a smoking gun, there it is. Variety is telling you Kennedy's leaving without saying it. Okay, now we've got WDW Pro at Pirates and Princesses saying she probably won't be coming back. And I'll tell you something else. Alan Horn leaving, and is it David Bergman or Alan Bergman going in to take his place, means Kennedy's not getting a promotion either. She's leaving Disney. She's leaving Lucasfilm. Okay? It's not that hard to figure out once you start looking at that story. It is a signal to Hollywood that Bob Chapek is going in there to fix Disney and Lucasfilm. The story actually is about Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy. Okay? It is dancing around the subject, but she is the big elephant in the room. Okay? She's what it's about. Now, maybe some people need it written out in crayon. Maybe they'd rather be miserable. Maybe they don't want her to leave, because then what are they going to talk about? Right now we're in the doldrums, the dog days of entertainment, geek speak, nerd talk, because there aren't any really aren't any new movies coming out that are interesting to people. Angelina Jolie's latest has been a flop, from what I gather. And Kong versus Godzilla came and went to thunderous applause. But when you look at everything that's going on, there is stuff to talk about. This article that came out, was it 2 weeks ago now, is what Kamran said was going to happen. The first one was Forbes saying what the hell is going on at Disney with this Gina Carano mess. He predicted that. I sent it to him. This is the second one. I didn't think it was going to be moving this fast as it has been, which is why I think she's out a lot sooner than we think. Okay? Now, WDW Pro Pirates and Princesses said that she's scheduled, with what they've heard, scheduled trips to be on location with Indy 5 with her husband. And of course, from what I gathered, the major producer is going to be Steven Spielberg. He's just not directing it now. Okay? And I think you got to understand, this woman has caused a lot of trouble for Disney. She made poor decisions with firing Gareth Edwards. She made horrible decisions with hiring Lord and Miller for Soilo, allowing John Kasdan to write the script, Alden Ehrenreich, and you guys know how I despise him, didn't say, hey, we can't do Pandolando, and all the rest of that stuff. Then she went in and, she hired Ryan Johnson. I mean, when you got Ridley Scott 2 weeks after The Last Jedi came out, and it was already failing. I think that movie, between its opening weekend and weekend number 2, lost 72% of its box office. I think it was a record at the time. Okay. Ridley Scott saying, I don't understand why they hire these younger directors to handle such big properties. Now, Kennedy had an idea that, give them a chance and blah, 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 and all the rest of the stuff. And it's like, you don't really get it. This is Star Wars. This isn't some low-budget art house stupidity here, even though that's what Ruin Johnson created with the help of Pablo Hidalgo. It was horrible. It's objectively a bad movie. You'd be happy to know that Pablo Hidalgo considers it the 4th best Star Wars movie. But he likes everything the OT the best. I want you all to kind of sit there and wrap your minds around it. He likes the OT so much, he loved watching Luke get raped and run through the mud in Last Jedi. And this guy was telling Star Wars stories. Doesn't that make you feel confident in Kennedy? No, because he should have been gone. And it's very interesting to me when I look at all the other poor decisions. She tried to get Ryan Johnson back after she pissed off Colin Trevorrow and over the death of Luke, and he walked. She wanted to get Ryan Johnson back to finish up this trilogy. And Iger said no. No, the fans will mute. The fans, they'll be pelting us with rocks and garbage, okay? Then we've got, JJ coming back against his will, and it was obvious by how bad Tross really was, that he ran to George for help. She looks at the first cut of the movie, the stuff that Matt Smith was in. He was playing the son of Mortis. Excellent bad guy, a really good idea to bring him into the movies. And she shit herself. There was no Raylo. There was none of the bullshit that she wanted to see. So she orders 40% of the movie reshot. And all the stuff that George helped with was gone. Okay. The movie, I would say, when I look at how much they reshot, and I've been told by people who were at Elstree Studios when all that stuff was going on, and they had to take down sets that they'd built, including the throne room of the son of Mortis. When you watch it, when you look at that, I would suspect that they spent close to $400 million or maybe $500 million shooting that movie. Okay? And it barely made $1 billion. Okay, grossed $1 billion. Then you've got how much it cost to make, what it cost to market, and how much the theaters took. Disney didn't make a dime on The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody fucking knows it. And it's all because Kennedy couldn't decide a goddamn thing. So then we get her being pissed off about Leslie Headland. Or about, George. looking at the scripts. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't think George was involved with The Rise of Skywalker, why didn't he show up to the premiere? He'd been to every fucking premiere of those movies in California. You know, well, I know what the story is. Doomcock told it, and I believe it. Last summer, apparently, around the 28th, 29th, or whatever of June, right before the 4th of July, one of the big money guys, we could talk about Black Rock or State Street or Vanguard. One of those guys shows up at the ranch. And they were talking. And he says, is there actually a J.J. Lucas cut? They say, yes, there is. I would like to see it. He sat down and watched it. He got up, didn't say anything. 3rd of July, Kennedy is told to bring all of the projects she's got working on to a meeting with the money guys. I believe that happened. Now, flash forward, this is after the Leslie Headland bullshit. Then we get the Gina Carano thing. And, first off, if you're a good leader, if you're a great leader, I would say maybe you should know who's working for you. Maybe you should have a little more control of them. Because basically it looks to me like Pablo Hidalgo and the Story Group were running Lucasfilm. Oh, I could too, but here's the deal. Even what JJ had filmed with George, because I think it was Craig who said George actually wrote and filmed some of it. Now, here's the thing. He goes out and does that as a favor to save his baby. Kennedy disregards all of it. He doesn't show up to the premiere, and he's been at the premieres all through it, through this dumpster fire. Think about it. Then last February, Steven Spielberg says, I'm not going to direct Indy 5. I will be a producer. Kennedy was burning bridges and she didn't know it. I guarantee you Steven Spielberg isn't vouching for her anymore. I think screwing George over, first off, I've said this before, I'll say this again. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg have been friends for decades, since USC Film School, okay, back in the 60s, all right? They would follow Francis Ford Coppola around with one of my heroes, John Milius, like baby ducks following a mother hen, and when something like this goes on, the guy is automatically going to be in there to defend his best friend. Okay? All right? There you go. There. That's why he walked away. It's not, I don't have time for this, my daughters, blah, blah, blah. No, it was, you screwed George over. I'm done. Okay? I'm done. All right? And I think the only reason why he's even staying there is for Harrison Ford. Period, full stop. I mean, he is really, when you're looking at who's involved with this, he's the only one. No, they don't, Lawrence. They really don't. So you got all this stuff going on. JPEG, he's the new guy. And there are people, I think, probably at Lucasfilm that probably never met him. Probably think that we can do whatever we want. Kathy's there. She'll protect us. Kathy Kennedy doesn't have the same connections to Chapek as she has with Iger. Okay. Kathy Kennedy embarrassed Chapek with this bullshit over Gina. Okay. She also embarrassed Bob Iger. I would say that she probably cut ties with Iger too. Okay. This is a massive, massive, massive thing. We're not hearing about it, but in that article, that Variety article, it is right there. Because that article, Disney's not in the San Francisco Bay Area, that's Lucasfilm. The Disney studios and things are down in Los Angeles. Lucasfilm, the headquarters and stuff, are in the Bay Area, and that's where George wanted it to be. George hates Hollywood, and they hate him back because they saw him as an upstart, they saw him as independent, they didn't like the fact that he was able to produce all this stuff, and he outsmarted them. And, he even said, I have never made a movie in Hollywood. All right? But, the article at Minute's Edge that they're talking about is all about Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, she's over. And everybody in Hollywood can rate it and look at it and go, well, And to the people who wander around pretending that Kathy Kennedy is some powerful, omnipotent female force, I got nothing coming. She's not. Okay? This article basically proves that. I mean, she's lost any clout she had. Okay? She can go have her all-female production company. Who cares? No one's going to go to those movies anyway. Will The Acolyte be made? No. They're going to, if my prediction is Jon Favreau comes in as head of Lucasfilm and answers to Bergman. Okay? And it's going to be up to him to hire and fire people. It's going to be up to him to clean things up. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, C-Man. It's way different from my brother used to live there. He was part of Haight-Ashbury and he was a photographer and a writer and everything, and he used to live in San Francisco. And I went out there to visit him with my mom when I was a little kid. I think I was like 8 years old, maybe. And it was a weird place to me. The last time I was there with him was in 1989, and we drove all over the place and all over Marin County and to Monterey and back, and we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I know John 42 because I've actually been past it. The road that Skywalker Ranch is actually on is the road that they filmed the motorcycle chase for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So, and Billy had actually got to hang out and watch him film it. And I'm like, Harrison Ford? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, but Billy kind of knew those guys. Billy knew George a little bit. He knew John Milius because he used to hang out with those people. The artsy fartsy, they're all a bunch of old hippies. Really, they are. And Billy, he was just a very interesting guy. I really miss him. Very wise person, too. When my dad died, he asked a lot of questions about stuff that was going on, and very pointed, because he was trying to figure out what the hell was happening. And it was very interesting to me when I look back on it. I really miss him a lot. He passed away in 2006, and you know, I miss my big brother. But those guys, they weren't. I mean, John Milius isn't a leftist anyway, but he wasn't my dad. He was my brother, Chris. My dad did die in 1993, and that's what I was talking about. But Billy died in 2006. Complications due to diabetes. And I don't. He. Hey, Vader fanatic. But anyway, those guys. When they talk about the free speech movement at Berkeley, they're talking about guys like my brother. My brother was actually a lecturer. I mean, Bill actually lectured at Berkeley. And those guys right now would look at what's going on with the woke people and go, the fuck is wrong with you? Because it wasn't really a left-wing movement. It was a fucking libertarian movement, to be honest. When you look at what the hippies were doing, and I'm not talking about like Weather Underground, I'm talking about the guys who just were, they did their own kind of thing, grew their own weed and all the rest of this shit, and they were the ones that created Lucasfilm. They were the ones that were the last really big movie stars. They were the ones that were the last really big directors. I mean, I laugh every time when George Lucas starts talking about Richard Nixon and what a horrible person, and I'm like, really, George? Richard Nixon? You guys gotta let it go, man. He's been dead for a long time. And considering some of the people that we've had in the White House since then, it's like Nixon is up and wherever he is going, I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have done that. Afternoon, old redneck nerd. But anyway, the reason why I did this video, and I'm really glad that Andre and Tom put the highlight of Cameron's appearance on Minute's Edge, is because, and I like Minute's Edge because the discussion is so much more intelligent. There's no emotion when they're talking about the political end. There's a way of looking at everything that the fans really have to adapt to. I don't like the content, so I'm gonna rail about it every goddamn day on my channel. Okay. Fine. What's it gonna but what's it gonna accomplish? And I'm asking the people who doubt Kennedy leaving, what do you want? If they announce it now, I mean, it's gonna be a shitstorm. Now they couldn't say, oh, Kathy, blah blah blah, she's leaving in October to do other things. We wish her well. When the time's right, we'll do a press conference and all that. They could do that. I think Hollywood already knows. I think Pablo Hidalgo knows. I think the bad actors at Lucasfilm really did cause all this trouble for Gina and attacking the fans. With or without Kennedy's knowledge or consent, it doesn't matter. They still did it. They know. They definitely know. Okay? For the fans who, I don't know, what do you want? Us to draw for you in crayon? Yeah, you'll see, man. That's an interesting thing to say. All right, maybe I'll get a great birthday present. They'll time it like Pablo, the announcement that Kennedy is leaving and Pablo Hidalgo's imminent firing on my birthday. I mean, I'll be like this. You bet your sweet bippy we're yub nubbing. It's my birthday, baby. You know, I love that. But, there are people out there who I think want to be miserable. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Since this has started back in announcing somewhat executive layoffs, good. Since this started back in when Lucasfilm was sold, the incompetent factor and the lack of real understanding of who was working for her that Kennedy has displayed staggers the imagination. I'm still like, and the reason is this. Okay, thanks, C-Man. The reason is this. If she had paid attention, if she actually fucking cared about keeping her word to George, we would not be here talking about Pablo Hidalgo and when or if he's going to be fired, he would have been let go. I mean, she's the one that wandered around telling anybody who wanted to hear her that there wasn't any source material for Star Wars. All right, because to be honest, she didn't know. Hidalgo and the rest took advantage of that. And in some parts of the fake fandom, they are lauded for being the ones to destroy the EU. Which has been horrible for the franchise. You don't have to follow the EU directly. You don't have to. You don't have to do Usain Bong or any of that shit. But please, for the love of all that is holy, I don't know, Piranha. I think Pablo did. But please, for the love of all that is holy, don't sit there and applaud this when everything that these parasites have come up with has been garbage. Geode the Rock? What the fuck? The fact that, none of these writers knows how hyperspace works. How, the worst part of the EU is probably Chewie's death and then Anakin's death. I don't think either had to happen. It's really interesting to me how I think you give her too much credit, Mike. It's really interesting to me how they came up with this and how some novelists and writers can't just write decent stuff. Okay? Can't write decent stuff. Because they have to kill people off. And, like Larry Kasdan will say, yeah, but it's for dramatic's sake. Oh, okay. This is a fairy tale, dipshit. Yeah, I mean, I've used, actually, Daryl, I've actually used that analogy. It's like New Coke. Having, and I'm going to say this, having Pablo Hidalgo and the story group anywhere near a franchise like Star Wars is like driving a Pinto back in the 70s. I don't, you can look at Pablo's Twitter account, the new one, it's not a new one, it's one he revived for some reason. And It's either so when the word comes out that he's leaving Lucasfilm, he can collect sympathy points, or he's trying to show somebody out there that he's really a nice person, and he's not. Okay, I guarantee you, Jon Favreau can't see his protected account. Okay, I guarantee you, Dave Filoni can't. All right. There's a reason. Okay, and he's had a lot of burner accounts on Twitter, and has used them to attack people. I'm going to say this: I wouldn't doubt he has agents within the fandom menace that are out there just causing trouble for the rest of us. Well, Daryl, it's very interesting how that's been tolerated when we all know in reality it wouldn't be. We all know that Kennedy, if she was half the leader she should be, would have been on top of that saying, you do that again, you're gone. Okay? He, I think, uses the victim card a lot. I don't know, but I think he does. And it's all just very interesting to me how he does that. But, when I look at that article, and it's the first time in a trade article that the presidency of Lucasfilm, without Kathleen Kennedy, is very definitely out there being talked about on the ground, then I know it's happening. And it's she. I'm going to say this: the woman is a menace. She deserves it. She deserves this, and the reason simply is, I don't understand how somebody in her position can allow things to get as bad as they got. But it is not truly going to get better until Hidalgo is gone. Okay? It is not. And they're going to have to, when Doomcock said they were erasing the sequel trilogy, they have to. They have to. The numbers don't lie. They don't lie. You can't sell Ray, you can't sell Kyle Ron, the Daddy Butcher, or any of the other stuff. The stories were hacked out copies of the original trilogy. At least The Force Awakens was. The fans noticed. They are degenerates. They are, and they're going to pay for it. Whether they leave before Kennedy leaves or after, Alan Bergman and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni don't have to deal with this shit. Dave Filoni has never said anything bad at all to the fans. I think that says something. Okay, Jon Favreau is one of us. Alan Bergman has to show receipts to Chapek and the board of directors. All right. This is big time, big dog shit we're talking about. But anyway, to the people who didn't watch the highlight reel from Cameron's last appearance on Midnight's Edge, shut up and watch it. And quit coming at me with your, she's not going anywhere. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. I don't give a fuck. If that's all you can say, don't make a comment. Okay? Because I'm sick of it. I'm really fucking sick of it. This is the same, I'm taking my toys and going home bullshit that children do. Okay? Look around you. Look at the news. You got the Warner Discovery merger. You've got CBS Viacom about ready to get swallowed up itself. You've got Amazon getting ready to buy MGM. All kinds of shit going on. Then you've got this lovely little piece about restructuring at Disney and people feeling bad about themselves because Chapek is like, you know, stop. You know, and I'm going to end this with this. There are people out there who want to be miserable because they want to be miserable. And they want to hate Disney because they want to hate Disney. Yeah, you're right, Matt Piranha. Tell you something about Disney. Disney has been, it was a film studio started, animated film studio started, in, I think, the garage of Walt Disney's house. Okay? It has been a mainstay. Don't start crying at me, dog. It has been a mainstay for the American people, part of our culture, for decades. Okay? It has hundreds of thousands of people working for it. I don't want to see it fail. I want it to be better. Okay? And if there are people out there who just want to see Disney die because blah, 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 that's you talking. That's you emoting. That's your emotions. And your emotions, when we're talking about money and we're talking about reality, yep, you're right, Matt Piranha. We're talking about reality. Don't mix, okay? If you're gonna stay mad, then stay fucking mad, okay? Because I got nothing, I'm done. I'm done dealing with this shit. I'm not gonna write it out for you in crayon. I'm not gonna pat you on the shoulder and say, oh, boo-hoo, she's never leaving, just to make you feel better so you can be pissed off for the rest of your life. All right? The world is in a bad place right now. We're getting some good news on the culture front. All right? Instead of crying about all kinds of shit, and it's always conservatives who do it, quit it. Quit it. Stop it. Quit it. Or don't bother commenting. Okay? All right, I gotta go because I'm losing my voice and the dog needs to go out. I'll see you around the galaxy. Be good, guys. And at the end of that, Jeremy Turner's right. I'll see you guys. Like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. I love you guys. Be good. Oh, and if anything happens between now and when the time I go to bed, I'll be back. Talk to y'all later. Damn it. All right. See ya.